Daylight is getting low in the overgrown road that we follow. The blindness had us up in bows. All we really ever know is it.
My name is Melissa Williams Shanahan. I am from the class of 1983. And I came to Verde Valley in 1980 from Los Angeles, California. I grew up in Santa Monica, Los Angeles area. I was down at the beach one day, ran into an old elementary school friend who said that she went to this really cool school in Arizona, and she described it to me. I went home, asked my mom, and a week later I came up here for my interview, was accepted, and started 3 weeks later. I will never forget driving down the road and coming into the valley and seeing Cathedral, and looking up and seeing these rocks and seeing these red roofs, and just being so, all I could say is so relieved. I felt like I had found, I felt like my soul had found a home, is what I felt like. So VBS absolutely changed the trajectory I was on. Coming from LA, I was in and out of public and private schools, and when I came to VBS, I felt like I had landed within myself. I felt like it was a safe place where I could really explore who I was as an adolescent. I was an absolute wild pony when I got here. I went to every edge, broke every rule I could, but by the end of the 3 years I had found myself. I had found self-love. I had found appreciation for faculty, for other students. I would say the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from Verde Valley School was having a sense of personal responsibility, that life is what I make of it, and if I show up with good intentions and hard work, it doesn't matter what the results are. That for me helps me to just embrace and accept, you know, what life has to give. Because at Verde Valley, things were not always easy, things were not always fun, but I also learned that it was what I made of it. And to just take that personal responsibility. The other thing about Verde Valley School that I loved, and that I continue to this day, was that piece about giving back. For me in my life, it's so important to show up and to do what I can to make this world a better place. So being 52, I still do it today. I'm involved with all kinds of different organizations. I show up, I volunteer, I give money, whatever I can do to make people feel safe, feel joy, and to make the world a better place. And those were values that I learned here at Verde Valley. My favorite place at Verde Valley School was definitely cow pie. I lived in Dog Patch two out of my 3 years, so I was just a footstep away. I would say my favorite times were cow pie at night, where we would all be up there on cow pie, sitting around, and we would watch the moon slowly come up. And I'll never forget those times. I'll never forget just the tranquility that I felt on cow pie, and just the vistas, and that was the place where I could really breathe deep. And every year I come back, I go up to cow pie, and I sit there, and I'm just, my soul just melts, really. My experience with field trips was a blast. My first one, my sophomore year, I was 15 years old, and they put me in a little town down in Mexico called Atil, and it was in the state of Sonora, and they put me away from everyone else because they knew my reputation, and I lived with a family, 6 kids in 3 bedrooms, dirt floors, the best tortillas I've ever had, the best fried beans that my mama made every morning, and it was the hardest thing ever. I think I read The Hobbit 3 times. You know, I didn't know what to do, but I will never forget that turquoise little house that I lived in. Second year, backpacking for 2.5 weeks in the Gila Wilderness with Griff, and it was beautiful. The Gila Wilderness is one of the oldest national forests, and it was fantastic and a lot of work. I'll never forget the blisters. And then my senior year, Tammy Nidell and I did an independent field trip to Kentucky. And we had 2 locations. We were up in a holler for just a couple nights, and then we were down in a town, and we worked at a place called the Apple Shop, which did a lot of documentary films on the culture of Kentucky. We took a Greyhound bus out to Kentucky. We were 2 days on a Greyhound bus, and that in itself was a field trip. And you know, I'll never forget the thing about Verde Valley Schools, it just opened me up to so many different cultures and ways of being in the world. And you know, at 16, 17 years old, to know that, you know, I experienced parts of the USA that, you know, you read about in books. So it was fantastic. And to this day, I still take field trips, and I make my kids go and do field trips, because for me, if we're not learning about other cultures, and I'm not teaching my kids or the kids I work with about other viewpoints and the way other people live, you know, I think we're missing a big part of educating kids. So it still lives in me. You know, what I will say is this is a school like no other, and what I do in my profession is I travel around and I tour schools and programs all over the country for teenagers and young adults, and I've never ever come across a school like this where you have the experiential education, where you have that sense of community, where it's not only about academics, but it's about character development and coming together, and also learning about who you truly are inside. I would say for me, every story is going to come back to that piece about this is who I am, and feeling proud and strong about that. I remember when I graduated and I had my ring, and people would say, I went to college in Boston, and people would say, wow, that's a cool ring. And I'd say, oh, it's my high school ring. And they'd go, wow. And then it would just launch into, wow, where'd you go to school? What was that place again? So lots of stories. I mean, it would be hard to narrow it down. Verde Valley School absolutely changed who I am. Coming from LA and being a wild pony and being entitled and thinking I knew it all, and I came to Verde Valley School and I was humbled, and I learned that it's about the collective. You know, it wasn't just about me, and to learn that as a teenager is pretty amazing, because developmentally, you know, they are very egocentric, but really learning about it's for the greater good. And we are also, you know, we have to be strong in our own parts in order to come together and be a strong whole. Those are the pieces for sure. I would say the other piece that I valued here was hard work. I loved work jobs. I love knowing that, hey, I graveled that path. Yeah, I did it because I got in trouble, but hey, I also graveled that path. You know, I made that. Wow, and to come back now and say, that's still here. I made that in high school. It's in the ceramic garden. So just, I mean, for me, just the history and coming back and being so proud, because I'm proud of who I am, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for the foundation that was laid at Verde Valley School.